look at these past few updates, I mean, none of them were exactly bad, but think about the permanent game-changing content inside them. Let's start with Gigi. Both Twisted and Toon made a large impact on the core gameplay. Toon Gigi made a good independent tune with good extraction. Twisted Gigi changed the way we manage our items completely, now incentivizing players to keep the most valuable items at the back of their inventory. This update, while not having many core gameplay features to add, was still significant in the game's history and changed something. On top of that, we got a ton of cool skins to look at and use so we can differentiate who is who on a team. This update was well balanced and good for the game in the long run. Now what about... This update added Louie and Connie, which while their tunes were good additions to the game, this batch of Twisteds had to be the most lackluster and least impactful we've ever had. Twisted Louie was just a Shrimpo clone without the slower movement, which doesn't change the gameplay in an impactful way and barely changes the way you go about surviving it. Now, commons aren't inherently a bad thing to add to the game. In fact, I think it's important to have a large variety of them, and having some of their own minuscule gimmicks can help diversify things. But the problem is when there is no other Twisteds added in the update to make this any less underwhelming. Well, we do have Connie, so what does she do? I mean, an uncommon should have a decently large impact on gameplay. Most of them do, unless it's Connie. Connie's the freest Twisted that's ever been added. You'd never get hit by her unless you were paying absolutely zero attention. While the concept of trapping machines is not bad, she was executed poorly, not being much of a threat. Her slow movement speed and long idle time makes it so she barely even gets to a machine, and the signs of her being in a machine are way too obvious to fool anyone unless you're completely new to the game. A wiggling valve, glitching blue light, and sound effects as well. This makes Connie a non-threat and doesn't change the way that the game is played enough. So this update's Twisteds were lackluster and didn't change anything about the core gameplay. The tunes were great. Hell, Louie's actually my favorite tune, but it was underwhelming. Well, I mean, what about the maps? I mean, maps change the way the game is played. You want new maps, right? Well, what if all three of those maps were horrible? To start, we have a diner map. This map was not only really hard to find for some reason, but it was like the most cramped map in the entire game, making it a complete pain to traverse and survive on without a distractor. And even if there's a distractor, there's nowhere to go. That's how tight it is. The map had a negative effect on gameplay. What about the two other maps that weren't ungodly difficult to find? We also got a new warehouse map, and while expanding on past content is nice, this map was also atrociously bad for extractors and distractors. Everywhere in the map is tight besides the middle, but this makes the middle a main place Twisteds pad through, making any machines that spawn there nearly impossible to get without being spotted by anything and everything in existence. I'm sure you felt that pain if you soloed in this map a single time. There's also nowhere to go in terms of distracting, and it just generally feels like a horrible map to play in. So that's two maps that were generally horrible for gameplay. Surely the third one will be the best. It's the worst in the game. Shelly's Room had to be one of the worst maps in the game's history. The map is one of the smallest in the game, if not the smallest. For distractors, spots to go are limited to non-existent, and there were way too many dead ends that made it impossible to do anything without being hit or trapped. This map also features a wide open middle, where getting any machines without being spotted is torture, and it's near impossible. So gameplay-wise, this update hurt the player base more than it benefited it. Even if the tunes were good, the Twisteds and maps were either redundant or just flat out a pain to deal with, and made the game way more infuriating than it had business being. That was a mouthful. Surely the next update will be better. This update features 4 new tunes, 4 new Twisteds, and a new Christmas map to go with it, plus some nice skins. Now, the only thing this update did correctly was give a good amount of Twisteds to deal with. A common is fine, especially since Twisted Rudy glows red. We get 1 Twisted of every rarity, and that made discovering Twisteds and countering them in this update very fun, and all of them changed the way the game is played in some way, excluding Rudy. Ginger acted as a slow but major threat. Being cornered because of her would be a big deal, as her attention span is very long. Cole wasn't a threat in most of the time she appeared, but was a major threat in Blackouts. Bobette was Pebble 2.0 upon release, but instead with the gimmick of getting angry when tunes pick up items. She was soon later nerfed to 23 movement speed. All of these Twisteds were impactful and made the game feel different, although they were quite on balance, seeing as Cole was Pebble speeds with no audio cues, specifically in Blackouts, whenever you could not see her coming. Ginger was a menace, but I suppose it's justifiable, maybe just a little overwhelming for an uncommon though. Bobette might have been the most balanced gimmick-wise, her speed being 23 made her slower than Shattered Glisten. This made her distractible, and even then still survivable. So I mean, why am I complaining? Well, if you missed the main part, this update is seasonal. We only see this update for about a month every year, and that's just a tragedy to behold. We have all these new Twisteds and Toons, but we only get to see them once a year. That really sucks in terms of long-term gameplay. Now for the things we do get to keep, the Toons. The Toons were insanely lackluster and did not offer any new gameplay styles we hadn't seen before, all of them just being copies of existing characters' abilities. On top of that, their designs were questionable and looked off compared to the art displayed by Quell. I found them to be unappealing and mostly ugly, but I suppose that's more biased than just anything. Bobette was the only Toon with a unique ability, and even then it was just Connie's ability repackaged, and her stats were not great either. After this update ended, the game felt a lot more empty, leaving nothing for players to do. I don't think events like this are inherently a bad idea, it's definitely fun, but when there's no update right after the event ends, we're left with nothing to do and the game feels less developed than before. Overall, this is the best update we had in a while, and it wasn't the worst thing, but it still could have been handled better. Now surely, the update after this one has to be impactful. I mean, we haven't had any permanent Twisteds that impact gameplay a significant amount since Gigi update. Gotta get something interesting. This update was actually the least impactful update we've had in a long time. The Toon, Yada, is actually really interesting and offered a gimmick we hadn't seen before, at least for team support. But the Twisted was just another common, and again, commons are not inherently bad, they're balanced in this game. But giving us a single common for an update really makes it feel redundant and like there's nothing to do. This didn't change gameplay in an impactful way, it just gave us an above average speed common that's easy to avoid as the rest. Although, it's worth considering this update had its fair share of quality life improvements to make up for this. I mean, it was stated by Quell that we weren't even meant to get a Toon this update, so let's see those sweet quality of life improvements. To start, we have animation changes. The only things that were given animation changes were Toon Pebble and Twisted Pebble. While this is a nice rework, the animations are fluid and all, it's not much to see. You see it once and you're like, yeah, that's cool, but there's nothing much else to see. Enhancing the game's quality is still not a bad thing though, so this is a fair change and had to happen eventually. We also did get some new items, although their purpose was to make Yada's drop table less empty as there were technically only 5 candies you can get from her ability. So, Extraction Candy, Stamina Candy, and Jawbreakers, which are just buff versions of Enigma Candies, none of them were really impactful, but they still offer some nice buffs as they're pretty common. We also got 170 new dialogues, which is probably the best part of this update as a whole. This lets us learn a lot about the characters, which is really nice, especially since this community treasures the Toons more than anything else. I'd say this is a great change, and more dialogue does give something to look for and have fun with. Finally, we have changes that actually changed gameplay, and oh boy were they warranted. The Shelly's Room and New Warehouse got major tweaks to their layouts, which we needed. Now, let's see, are they better? Shelly's Room added a whole new expansion on the side, where once was a dead-end hallway with nowhere to go if cornered. There are also 4 islands featured in this area, making it a good place to get things off of you. This was a good addition. The rest of the map is more or less the same, but with a major flaw. All the islands are gone! The middle of the map, which once had 3 islands, now has none. It's completely open, which is good for distracting, but extracting makes it impossible. It's not just the middle that's missing islands. All the side hallways are also missing any islands they had, making it so there's nowhere to get Twisteds off of you safely. Your only defense mechanism is running across the map and hoping things get off you from losing line of sight, and that's without getting spotted by anything else in the process. This revamp was overall better, but it's still a really rough map to do anything on, featuring almost nowhere to go conveniently get things off. Now, what about the newer warehouse map? This revamp was more positive than the Shelly's Room one, giving additional space in the middle, while keeping some islands to get some Twisteds off. It also opened up some of the dead ends, making them more spacious and adding more ways to go. This rework was an improvement, but the map is still very open in the middle, if not more than before, which was its main issue. Getting machines without being seen is near impossible. Gift Shop also got a small rework, but opening up the maze, which is overall good and it made the map more manageable. Now, all things considered, this update was meant as a quality of life update, but did it really deliver? I'd say that it's up for interpretation. If you like these changes, then yeah, it was definitely nice, but again, my main point, no new Twisteds. After losing so much content from the winter event leaving, we wanted something to do. The game felt bland, we needed core gameplay changes, something else to look out for and learn to avoid. We didn't get anything like that, just one comment, so in that aspect, the update was a bust. But the quality of life changes were definitely things we needed, making maps more bearable, more interactions, and some minor revamps and tweaks to tunes or animations. I don't know, do you think this game needs a new game-changing update that'll spice things up? I know I do, but tell me in the comments and I'll tell you what I think. Anyways, thanks for watching my rant. Hope you enjoyed, bye bye!